let's get into the thing that we've been waiting to talk
Oh
about.
yeah.
The writer strike. So before I let you go, I did some research myself. This is something that I've been avoiding talking about because I just didn't know a lot about it, and I didn't want to talk about something I didn't really know a lot about, or didn't even know a little bit about. So did some research finally, in preparation for this episode, and I'm just gonna say what I know from some articles and YouTube videos I watched. So from what I understand, the situation, you can correct me if I'm wrong when I'm done, Emmett, is like streaming is at the heart of the issue that's happening right
Yeah.
now. At first, streaming created a ton more jobs and got a lot of writers their first gigs, and things were good. But some inherent problems that came with it was that episode counts slowly, well, not slowly, but pretty steadily shrunk. So it made living as a writer harder because you would be working on less projects, or you had to work on more projects per year to earn a living because things were just you were working on like 8 episodes instead of 26 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Now it's six.
yeah, it gets shorter every year, and you know, and the influence that writers have on a project overall, and the production process have just decreased over the years. So not only are they writing less episodes, but they're involved in less of the production overall. Um,
Yeah.
and that leads, like I said, to issues of writers being employed for fewer weeks and therefore making less money. And there's also a problem with residuals. The money that writers make from reruns of the project that they worked on being aired on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to people going back and rewatching shows and movies on streaming services, those checks come less frequently and they include way less money.
Yeah.
Despite how many people are rewatching and watching these shows and movies for the first time, and that's all the information that I know and I have and understand. What do you have to
Yeah.
say,
I mean,
Emmett?
that's pretty much the most important beats. I mean, I think the main thing too is that there's a kind of a misconception when it comes to like writing for television that it's just kind of like, okay, you have the 3 months that you do the writer's room and then you write the episodes, and then that's it. But writing is kind of that's a kind of a year long process through, and it includes going into like production, stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like, writing process still goes on while filming. A lot of times, like decisions and stuff like that need to be made, so they'll have on-set writers, and a lot of times that's how like a lot of like the big time like showrunners that we know today. Like I know the guy who is running like House of the Dragon. Like he was just like an assistant writer that was on set there to make little changes for anything if anything like went wrong, and so they could write it in because they would know the characters well enough and the world well enough to like make it fit.
yeah. It also just
Um,
helps make your writing better when you actually get to
oh yeah,
see what's
I
going on and actually get to know the actors that are playing these characters and actually speaking the words that you wrote, and just making
exactly yeah
just talking to all the people that are making what you wrote down happen, physically, and just that just helps inform your writing for that project in the future.
exactly yeah. And like sometimes like I think the best example is like Breaking Bad or something where like there's like several characters that were meant to be a one off or something, like Jesse, or but then after during the decision that was fully made during filming that to keep the character as a mainstay. It wasn't so like that completely changed the whole writing process, stuff like that. And that was because the writers were on set, working with the actor,
And
and
now
they
that's
can,
being
yeah.
scaled back, and writers are on set less and less.
Oh, less and less, yeah. And even the ones that have like producer credits are not allowed to be on set as much, and you don't have like assistant ones. Like at best, you have like the showrunner on set,
Yeah,
which is now happening with the new season of Andor, which luckily they finished their writing, like the whole writing
yeah.
thing. So I don't, it's not going to be fully affected. And the
Also, well, it was actually meant to be more than 2 seasons. It actually got scaled back to just being 2 seasons, and I
oh,
think
it's
the
only going to be two
yeah.
seasons.
So the next season is going to take
Oh,
place over the course of several years. But I think each
oh,
one of the years that this story, or the like time periods this story is going to take place in, is were supposed to be like individual seasons in their own right.
darn! I thought there was going to be there was still planned to be three. Um, seasons or
Maybe it
whatever.
is three, but it was
Most of
supposed to
that.
be more than three. But I just know
Oh,
it was
okay.
supposed to be more seasons than it is.
Yeah, that's yeah. I guess like not a lot of people watched it. That's what it seems to be. But, well, but yeah, it's just So, but like, will the writer's strike might still affect it because they won't
Yeah,
really have like writers on set, even though the showrunner said that he will be on set, not as a writer. Wink, wink. So I guess he kind of will be there helping.
yeah. It's
Um,
it's becoming more of a machine that they just want you like
yeah,
writers do their job. They're out. Let's get into production. Okay, let's get in pre-production. They just want it to run like a smooth machine rather than having it be this fluid process that it should be. That really lends itself to creative thinking.
yeah, and it's kind of it's weird because I've been seeing this like bizarre sentiment online where it's like some people are saying, and I'm sure they're probably just they're just they're not really thinking fully when they say this, but they're like, oh, writing's not that good nowadays anyway. Why don't they just use AI?
Oh
Uh,
God.
Personally, a lot of the writing that isn't that polished up and stuff like that in shows nowadays is because of the problems that they're striking against. So this is the whole strike is not just to like make sure that they get paid, but also like it will hopefully improve the quality of writing. And also, it's like I've never understood the sentiment of like just replace people's job because with AI and like that could be your job someday too
Exactly.
at any point. Um,
The thing about like
it's
AI for me is, it's I feel like, it's easy with a lot of problems to just paint it as black and white for the sake of, stopping a bad thing from happening. But the reality is, it's not going to go anywhere. That's the unfortunate part. And we like it's not. It should be a tool. It should not be a replacement.
oh yeah,
There are
I
ways for
agree.
AI to help us and not just
right.
fully replace us. Because the reality is, first off, the AI that's used to write and create, art is actively stealing from people to do so. And that's just unethical on, all fronts. And that's just wrong. We shouldn't let that happen. But for a person to use AI themselves to help as a tool rather than a like a crutch or to just straight up do the work for them is a completely different thing. And I think that's something that I would hope that we hopefully get there at some point where people realize instead of having this steal from people and then replace those people, have it help people in small ways.
I
Not
agree.
even
You
huge
just
ones, smaller ones, because there are things in like especially animation where AI I've heard is extremely useful. Like there is AI used in Spider Verse, and some people got up in arms about it, and I looked into it and was like the way it's being used isn't like to completely get rid of artists. It's to do very very tedious things that animators literally don't want to do. Like not to just
yeah,
straight up replace them, but to do these very small, minute, and tedious things that would just take up too much time.
Right.
yeah. It's a tool.
It's
It should be used as one.
exactly.
Um, yeah, and it's like it's all I don't have any interest in like I do. It's kind of like maybe like for once or twice it might be interesting to see what a computer could write
Yeah,
or what a
it's
computer can create.
that's the weird thing because it gets in your
But
mind of like it would be interesting to see, but that's a it's a a tough line to tell.
yeah, but like yeah, I don't need. It's not more interesting I think than what create.
Yeah,
You know, like even if I'm watching a bad show or something, like I don't know, I have more respect for the creatives, even if I don't like respect the decisions that they're making, or I mean not respect. I don't like some of the decisions that are being made or whatever like that. I can.
you can respect the
That's
effort.
more. Yeah, that's more interesting to me. That I could like look into as opposed to like machine doing it. Like you were mentioning the secret invasion thing. Um, and I was like, the concept of like AI generated opening sequence would be interesting to watch like on YouTube.
Yeah,
But like if I'm watching a show week to week with people in it. I want it to be done. It would be nice to see like something done by an actual like artist. You know, uh, that's that gives the show its own personality. Because I don't know, AI is kind of like I guess you could say it has a personality, but it feels very
Its personality is built on other people's personality.
exactly. It's like a lack of personality. It's who's the
It's like Ko, the face stealer from Avatar that we just talked about.
yeah, exactly. Right. The Jason Bateman of artists. Yeah. Uh, and so yeah, I mean, a lot of all the I was just saying earlier, like all the writers who are like you were saying, like have been on sets and stuff like that. Those are like the big mainstay best showrunners that are around,
Yeah.
and they had like a year long experience of like writing and then being on set for these 24 episode things, which I think for a lot of writers and for people too, I think the like getting rid of like the episodes always TV shows having to be like 20 episodes or whatever a season is creatively freeing
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Like having 6 or 8 episodes has actually in some ways improved some TV
Oh
shows
yeah.
because you have like you have more of a condensed way of like telling a story and you can do it in less time.
There was
But I feel
a show I was thinking about
going.
earlier because I was watching somebody react to it, and I'd seen it like twice at this point. Which is Castlevania, which is the first season's 4 episodes. I think the second season's 8 episodes. The third season's 12 episodes, and the last season is like I don't know, 14. I don't know, it's something like that. And they keep adding more episodes, and it ultimately actually hurts the series. I'm like, every season could have had 2 or 3 less episodes, and it would have been better.
Yeah, I saw the first season of that, and I was kind of like it was a little odd because it was like there was so few of them.
Yeah, it was basically a
But
movie.
yeah, that's basically it was I think it was shorter than a movie would
It
be.
was like 2 hours.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. But yeah, it's freeing. I guess the one other thing that kind of like this doesn't necessarily directly relate to the writer's strike because I don't think it's being touched on, but I find it interesting when it comes to streaming and like the episode count that we were talking about is like the length of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Where in TV, they had to be a certain length plus commercial break or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So like an episode would be like 25 minutes or 45 minutes. Um, and now they can be pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I've seen episodes be an hour long. I've
You
seen
no longer have
episodes
to
be
like.
2 hours long.
Yeah. You also don't have to work
Yeah,
around
yeah,
ad breaks. Like you don't have to
yeah,
like
exactly.
have like you sometimes you have to have a very interesting stinger at the end of like just before an ad break so that people will actually come back and continue to watch, and they don't have to do that
Oh
anymore.
yeah, which I think is ultimately for the best. I mean, I was watching one of the later seasons of Lost. And it was like every like 7 minutes or so they had to have like something so
Yeah, I mean
shocking. So you
that
tune into the
that
next. I'm like,
that's a show that was heavily like affected by a writer strike.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I should have touched on that actually a moment ago.
I've never watched it
Really
myself.
quickly, yeah, that and Heroes
Oh
were
yeah,
affected.
I watched
But
Heroes.
yeah, I haven't. That's the one I haven't seen, but I heard everyone saying that it was affected by it. I'm not sure if that meant the quality or just like how when it came out, but I just heard that it was affected. Really quickly though, on the length, I was just going to say that I do think that the it is kind of limiting in a way with the length because I feel like TV shows nowadays kind of they have a lack of pacing. That,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
the
Castlevania
cable shows.
pacing season 3
Mhm.
is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like if episodes can be however length you want it to be, or have as many episodes as you want it to be, and there's no like editor in the room to like cut it out, or say that okay, we need to make this time slot. That shows kind of lose their pace, or they have scenes that don't really need to be there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of what
Creatives.
makes Arcane so amazing that it manages to be so
Yeah.
well paced.
Oh, absolutely, and I think the length is mostly consistent too. It's
Yeah.
well paced.
Yeah,
And
it's like
everything
40
feels
minutes every
necessary.
episode. Which is
Yeah, I think
like you
it's
said, that's another thing when you talk about lengths of things. Arcane is a strange length for an animated show. Animated shows tend to be 30 minutes and no longer.
mhm.
This is a 40-minute animated series, which is very strange.
Yeah, and they managed to make it work really well. Um, yeah, I think the time like this kind of affected like comedies as well. But I was watching like Arrested Development, the first 3 seasons that were on cable. They had a very punchy pace because they had to fit it into like a half hour.
Mhm.
Um, And now then when it went on to streaming, the jokes just didn't really land at all because I feel like the writers were given as long as they wanted to. They have entire scenes where like to get to the joke, there's like other like little bits in there that like I feel like if you they could have cut down really quickly and made it a lot more better. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent
Yeah.
away from the writer's
No,
strike,
it it,
but
it, it fit. But
yeah.
I wanted to talk about how like were you able to say something, Ira?
Oh no, I was just saying I was agreeing that it was fitting.
Oh yeah. So like something we have to like touch on is that how writers, especially with the way streaming works, they aren't always working. Like they find themselves in between projects, and residuals help kind of hold a lot of writers over in that in between time, and with them being significantly decreased at the way they are, in streaming, it really hurts them and puts people in really tough situations.
Hmm.
And that's one of the many things that this is trying to combat.
Mhm.
I also want to
Yeah,
talk about
definitely.
how streaming has affected the animation industry. Because
Yes.
late last year, there was what is it? Dang, why am I forgetting the hashtag? New Deal for animation was trending, and despite the fact that animation carried the entertainment industry over the pandemic due to the fact that it could be made remotely. Um, and shows like Arcane came out 2021, and a lot of animated shows did amazing over that time. Animators just aren't being paid nearly as much as their live action counterparts, and the working conditions are horrendous. Like we just talked about Spider Verse, and people being expected to redo finished work on a regular basis, and work overtime to do so. Um, crunch is a thing. Like you said, crunch is a turtle. And they also don't get much from residuals. Uh, and was it not too long ago? The HBO canned a lot of animated series for a
Yeah.
tax write-off, along with some live action stuff too. But focusing on animation right now, and yeah, uh, streaming is great for the viewer in a lot of ways, but for the creative, it just hasn't been great right like recently.
It's been. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a. It was like creatively freeing at first
Yeah,
for a lot of creatives, and but now it's kind of you're seeing kind of
they're
the other
being
end where
taken advantage of now.
yeah, pretty much because there's just less I feel like
Less
they
rules.
finally had the rules in place
Yeah,
after the writer's strike, like about 2000. I think it was 2008 or so. Um, finally, kind of they were in a good place, but now it's kind of like a restart.
yeah.
You know,
They found the gray area now that it's a completely different section of the entertainment industry. They are starting to play with the rules and trying to move the goalpost.
yeah, it's interesting. Too that like in 2008 and stuff like that after the writer's strike, and I know that I think that it's important to I mean, the most important is like people's jobs and livelihoods, but the way that TV was affected too um, is interesting as well because it became that's like when a lot of like reality TV shows really took off
Hmm.
because they didn't
Oh
need
yeah,
writers.
I did read
That
about
was
that.
the yeah the Kardashians and the what was the what was the one that like Donald Trump was doing the Apprentice
Yeah,
that was called
yeah.
yeah that was like a failing show until the writer strike took off and then it became like a mainstay. So I don't know if that like had really much influence in terms of like or how many his popular. I guess it must have had a lot of influence in terms of his popularity.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's interesting that these things that may not seem that influential, like TV writers, whatever may or animators or whatever, they can really influence uh, our the world around us over time. Um, yeah, like it definitely influenced like his political career and show. So it definitely influenced the political landscape of the U.S. today. Um, we're all kind of affected by these things. If that makes sense.
definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, I know you were talking about animators. If you wanted to hop back onto that, I didn't want
You
to
know,
say that real quickly.
that's honestly all I really have to say about it. If you have anything to say out here.
No, y'all pretty much said it all.
Yeah.